This week on the Ocean Cruisers podcast, I'm having a chat with Chase Lemacks. Chase is currently sailing his Beno 50 in the Caribbean, which he completed a major refit on recently to ultimately cruise around the world. He worked with Captain Glen on Parsifal 3 on below deck for a season and is currently working towards his commercial captain's licence to work more in the yachting industry and also charter his own vessel as he travels. We met up in Annapolis in 2023 at the YCA Cruisers Awards. We got along great, so it was nice having him on the podcast. And if you want to follow his journey, search for Chasing Grace 21 on YouTube. The Odyssey Sailing Festival is taking place in Greece this year on the 14th of September. If you'd like to spend the week sailing with skippers like Alex and Brady from Delos, Glen Shephard from Below Deck, world record holders like Dekker, Dustin Reynolds, Erik the Viking, and a bunch of other awesome people, this is the week for you. It's a full week out cruising, all inclusive with private chefs, on some incredible new monohulls and catamarans where you will learn to sail with your favourite skippers, learn to cruise and how to live on the water, and make some brilliant friends. Visit theoceancruisers.com/Odyssey for cabin availability. We only have 2 left, so check them out now. But in the meantime, enjoy the podcast with Chase Lemacks. Yeah, we can just kick it off whenever, mate. 6:30 p.m, mate. I just did a few boat jobs today. It was semi-productive. I smell bad enough, so that means I did some work. Just fixed my furling drum. Rebuilt it out of an IKEA chopboard, which actually works because it blew up.
Out of an IKEA chopboard.
Yeah, I'll show you a video of it. I'm gonna turn it into a little reel because I've started doing these like fix your boat reels on Instagram, and people are saying that it's saving them money and stuff. So I'm like, sweet, I'll keep doing it.
I love that.
Yeah, mate, I did one on life jackets, and like loads of people messaged me. They were like, I checked my life jackets, and like 2 of them weren't working. Thanks. I was like, amazing. I definitely have saved lives.
I gotta check mine. Honestly, all of my offshore jackets came with the boat, and they're those like, I guess they activate when you go in the water. They got the CO2 canisters.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to check them because I don't have the money to replace the canisters to put new ones in. So I'm just praying they work, but I got the big
canisters are like $10. I don't think they're a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're cheap. That's an easy replacement. And the salt tablets as well that go inside them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Then I should probably do it too. I'm sure I can get the canisters like cheap on Amazon or something.
Yeah, I'd say so, mate. Are they not even the same type of canisters that they use for like air guns and stuff like that? They're just maybe I'm talking shit. I don't know, but they look like it.
I don't know. I should research it because it's one of those things. Like I've got the jackets, I've got the tethers and stuff, but I haven't taken the extra step to make sure they freaking work.
To check the
work. I should do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I knew like 2 of them worked last year, so I was like, me and my missus are okay on the boat, and then this year I was like, we're having guests aboard and stuff, so I was like, no, I need to. It would be bad, mate, if I threw someone in the water. I was like, the boat's sinking, get out, you're going to be safer. And then they just drowned because the life jacket didn't turn on. That would be liable, I'm sure.
My thing is like honestly, like I use my offshore jackets just as like a harness, it's really just there to keep me tethered in. And I have my double tethers. So like I'm always attached to the boat. I'm like neurotic with that one. But if I was going to go overboard, I've got those big, like, I think they're called the Type 1 or Type A, the big orange life jackets you see on the cruise ships, the big square ones. That's what I would put on. I'd put on one of those suckers if I was leaving. And, they say you only leave the boat if you're stepping up onto something, whether it's a dock or a life raft. So,
Yeah, the safest thing is just to stay on until, well, unless it's on fire, I suppose, then it's probably not worth staying on.
Fire's different. Fire's my biggest nightmare, man.
Yeah, mate, I'm worried about that, like, because you're the same as me. You've got 20, 25-year-old boats, something like that. Like, I've done a lot of rewiring. I'm not that confident.
Mine's 30 this year, and I just put 1,000 amp hours of lithium in it, and I'm not an electrician, so I think I did an okay job, but I'm just praying every day that I'm not going to blow us up. Yeah, man, and when you're in the middle of the ocean, they've had a couple scary nights where like, something will get real hot in the engine bay or it'll be a lightning storm, and that's like what you start thinking about. okay, what am I going to do if something catches fire? And I look into
Yeah.
all the fire extinguishers and stuff. That's one thing I've done is I replaced all the fire extinguishers with some
Oh
big
yeah.
ones, some beefy
100%.
ones, and I've got multiple types and whatnot. So
Yeah.
that's a big one for me. It scares the crap out of me, man. The whole boat can
Mate,
go
yeah,
up. It
for
takes
real.
about a minute. It takes a minute from start of fire to the whole boat being on fire. It's less than a minute.
Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah, I've like kind of got as good a plan as you could possibly get. I've put like extinguishers in the engine bay. You know, I actually did like a few weeks ago. I got all new extractor fans, so I've got like more extractor fans in my engine bay now, and then I've got like fans going the other way, so I've got fresh air being pumped in.
Oh,
So I'm
wow.
Yeah, so I'm just like, which probably wouldn't be too good for a fire situation, actually. Maybe that's why they don't do it, but keeps it cooler anyway. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
hate it. You only been motoring for like a few hours because you have to, and then you open up the engine to like, just check. I always check, and then it's like, ooh, it just hits you. I'm like, this can't be good.
Yeah, man. I mean, I've got every engine issue you can think of.
Well, you had
It's
a rebuild.
Yeah, well, that's a funny story. I haven't really talked about it much online, but I overpaid for my engine rebuild and the engine never got rebuilt. It was just painted basically.
No
Um,
shit.
yeah. Well, so I mean,
How
I'm
much
happy
did
to
you
talk.
pay for what is it, 80 or 100 horse, that thing?
It's like 80, it's 85.
Yeah,
It's a Perkins 4236. It's a simple
it's
tractor
a good engine.
motor. Yeah, I had debated, you know, repowering with like a new Yanmar or something. I know a lot
No,
of
it's
people
good,
go
mate.
that route. Well, it's just more things to go wrong.
Mm,
I come from working on cars, and the best cars I ever worked on are older stuff. It's just simple
simple.
stuff.
Yep.
It's got a carburetor on it. There's no fuel injection. Yeah, anyways, it's easy to fix. This is an old tractor motor that should run forever. Four-cylinder. It's bulletproof.
Yep.
And I was going to rebuild it myself, right? I bought the boat in Miami. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. We were going to haul out in Fort Lauderdale, do a bottom job and an engine tune-up when I bought the boat. And then we were
Right.
going to take it to Charleston, and I was going to rebuild it myself with my family, right, to
Oh,
save money.
nice.
But it didn't work that way.
Rarely
As soon
does.
as it never does. When we pulled out, they pressure washed the bottom because there was a bunch of growth on it, and all the paint and fiberglass came off with it.
Oh, big
So
osmosis problem.
yeah,
Yep.
and I had a survey where we hauled out everything. Didn't come up in survey, and there was huge water intrusion through the entire hull. And once all the fiberglass was off, like you can't just put the boat back in the water and sail up, 500 miles to Charleston. So we were stuck
Oh,
there. We were stuck in South Florida yard prices in the summer.
it's crazy,
It's
mate.
one of the most expensive places you could be. And the
Mate,
only
Florida
re
used to be cheap. I went there like a lot when I was younger. Florida used to, mate, a British
no
person.
longer.
It was like we were going to a country made for peasants. Everything was so cheap in Florida, like 20 years
Well,
ago. It was crazy.
so maybe it's still that way, but for boatyards it's different. Like all the
Yep.
mom and pop independent boatyards have been bought out by big companies, and the
Ah,
honest
it's
truth is
bullshit.
that yeah, the honest truth is if they put a charter yacht in there, they can charge whatever they want.
Yeah.
So people like you and I have our sailboat and we're on a budget and we're trying to get in and out.
They're not
There's not a lot of
interested.
spaces for us. There's very few places you can do your own work. There's almost no places you can stay on the boat in the yard, so you have to pay for Airbnbs and accommodation.
Nah, it's bullshit.
And I got stuck, dude. And the only remedy for the water intrusion was to peel it all down to bare fiberglass
Yeah.
and let it sit. So, and we put heat lamps on it and everything, but it had to sit there for 3 months.
Yep.
Long
Takes a long
story
time to dry
short,
out.
dude, it took forever. Long story short, we're stuck there because the water intrusion. There's a mechanic in the yard. We're doing the tune up, and this part's broken, this part's broken. He's showing me, hey, like this needs to be replaced. And then it snowballed into, oh, we're replacing all these things. It's easier to just pull the engine out. Mine's really easy. It's center mounted under one of
Yeah,
my
lovely.
settees, comes out the skylight, super easy to pull out. And I'm like, all right, let's go ahead. And then we land on a full rebuild. I actually don't know the exact price of the rebuild, but we came to an agreement for 38 grand for the engine rebuild, replacing all the through holes, new prop shaft, new prop. I mean, this is like, it was supposed to be complete, like painting the engine bay, replacing keel bolts, motor mounts. Like there was a
Oh, so
lot
there's a
of,
lot.
yeah, it was a good bit. But
Still sounds expensive from like European prices.
it's expensive, you know,
Yeah.
but in my mind I was like, okay, we're gonna be stuck here for months, you know. At that time we would be like we were hoping to leave the yard around September, October. I said, okay, if the engine's perfect, if everything's done, it's worth the money to have it done by a professional and I could watch him, was the idea. And
Mm.
then we go straight to the Caribbean and start cruising, you know. And so we agreed to spend the money and do it. And we trusted the guy, and then it just went tits up. Um, at the end of the day, he tried to change order me. Not he waited. I saw him every day. You know, I was always working on the boat every day. Saw him every day. Didn't say a single word to me. I had paid him the 38 for the invoice. And on the last day, when the boat is in the travel lift about to go in the water, he says,
Mm.
"Oh, actually, there's a new invoice." And he tried to charge me $80,000 for the work that he had done on rebuilding the engine and the, you know, keel bolts
What?
and through holes. 80 grand. And so I got into a huge argument with the guy,
Who
threatened
is this
to, you
guy?
know,
What's his name? What's his home address?
well, look, like I don't want to put anyone on blast. You know, I've considered it because part of me wants to tell the story to like warn other people. I went into it really naively,
He's a straight up
but
thief, mate.
yeah,
And
look.
he's
I
trying
mean,
to thieve off cruisers. That's no good.
you know, I've heard a lot of stories since this. I've met a lot of cruisers who have similar experiences to me, where they trust someone to work on their boat. And every single person I worked on the boat with, I had on my boat, you know, riggers, painters, everything. Their price was their price. It came down to that. I've been a contractor before. If there was a adjustment for price for, you know, labor cost is more than you thought, or material cost changes, you know, you discuss it before you go ahead with it. You don't
Yeah, of
do
course.
things and then hit somebody with it. You know, I thought it was very much intentional. It was very much he was trying to put me under duress. The boat is literally like ready to go in the water, and it's one of these conversations like you need to fork up another $42,000 or we're not letting you take your boat. And so it became a legal situation. It ruined our lives for like 4 months, brother. I
How did
mean,
it end up a legal situation? What? He was like insistent on
yeah,
you have to pay this.
so that day I had about 7 grand in my bank account and I gave it
Right.
to him to launch the boat. And I'm going, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Like I'll come up with the money. Because at the time, like it hadn't really dawned on me that I was getting taken advantage of. I was like, I don't know why we didn't communicate this, but like if I owe him the money, I owe him the money. So I forked up another seven, my last pennies. We limped to Charleston, and I get a demand letter from his lawyer. It costs like $100 to send one of these demand letters, basically
Oh,
saying
the
like
piss, mate. They don't mean anything. A lawyer writes
they don't
something.
mean
Who gives a
shit.
shit?
But I get one in the mail, and it's basically like we're gonna have the U.S. Marshals seize your boat if you don't
Oh,
pay
sure.
another. And then like the amount the amount he demanded was even more than his bullshit invoice. It was like another 50,000 or something. But you know, the problem is the laws in the states really benefit the worker, you know, like, and it's a
Mm.
good thing. Like, if you work on a cargo ship for 2 years and your boss doesn't want to pay you, you can put a lien on the boat and the boat gets seized and you can get your pay. Like, you know, and that's good. But the problem is some people can abuse that to
Clearly.
strong arm boat owners into these scalping prices. And we were just scared, man. I lived in fear of losing the boat, and I had to pay for a lawyer on top of that. You know, so when I should have been cruising, I went back to work and was driving Uber and working 2 jobs. You know, trying to finish a renovation just to deal with this a-hole. So, and today
What a
my
piece of
engine
shit
still
person.
doesn't work, dude. And here's the cherry on top. He just painted it, put some new motor mounts on it. Like, I mean, I have literally since his rebuild, quote air quotes, replaced almost everything. You know,
So he's not even touched it.
dude, my fuel injectors weren't replaced, my alternators weren't replaced, like nothing. Like my I have more leaks than Swiss cheese in my engine, dude. I leak coolant, I leak diesel, I leak oil. It's a constant nightmare. I mean, I like half the shit on my engine doesn't work. It looks great. It looks brand new. It's
New
painted
paint.
well, but I have had to go through it and replace everything. I've probably put, 4 grand, 5 grand into parts since his rebuild, just replacing simple stuff that like is necessities, not putting, accessories on it.
Yeah,
So
just changing pumps and that's bullshit, mate. That's absolutely terrible. I think you
I got
should
fucked.
definitely like just plaster his face all over the internet.
Well, it's tough. It's tough, right? Because like, you know, here's the thing. Like I got an in-water survey after we launched. A surveyor came and, took note and gave me his, his detailed findings that the engine was fucked. I got 2 captains, statements. I have a bunch of people's statements. I got everything that I would need. But if I go and I attack this guy and I put him on blast, then I don't want to end up in a 1.5 year court battle. And that's the problem is people know this, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
even if I can win, I don't want to go do it because it costs money to just
and it's a
go.
pain.
Yeah, and so yeah, just at this point I'm cruising and the boat's moving and I'm enjoying my life. And so if I put this guy on blast, I don't want to piss anyone off and then be like, in trouble for slander or, trying to ruin this guy's reputation, defamation. I
Mm.
could, so it's just all I can say to
Yeah,
people
it's a
is,
strange situation, isn't it?
all I can say to people is be careful. I've heard stories in the USVIs. I've heard stories in South Florida, especially. I've heard stories in all over the East Coast. I'm sure they're in Europe too, everywhere.
Oh yeah, mate.
People will take advantage of you, and you have to communicate and hold your ground on prices and things because people want to snowball and they want to take advantage of you. I learned the lesson the hard way.
Yeah, mate, it happens to a lot of people. You see it as well. Like I see it all the time because I generally know what's going on with boats. I'm not a boat builder by any means at all, but similar to you, I've built stuff and built houses and engines and stuff like that. And I see it. I see it in marinas. I see stuff getting done, and I see work that people have done, and I look at it and I'm like, that is atrocious. I can't believe a professional has done that. I've seen rebuilds that also aren't rebuilds, like, literally pay for something to be rebuilt, open it up. Well, this is all the original stuff. So this hasn't been rebuilt,
Yeah,
it's just been touched up.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, it's crazy. It's bullshit. But the thing is, like, look, the way these people are set up for charter businesses, they're set up for rich people who may not know, may not care, doesn't necessarily matter. They might just have a skipper managing the boat. Um, you've got to be careful because it's like you're putting money and you're investing into people who they don't care about you and your boat. It's a business for them.
yeah. I mean, they don't care, and I think that on top of all that, not only do they get away with it with these big charter yachts, and look, I've been on the side where I've got the boss's credit card and I'm paying for stuff for the yacht, and I know it's a different world,
Mm.
but I think that I was a really easy target in hindsight, because I came in bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. This is my first boat, this is a dream of mine, and I'm running around all day, daily vlogging and YouTubing with a camera. I'm on a TV show. I've got this big boat, and so I think people think I'm made of money. But I fucking worked my ass off for those pennies. I put everything
Mm.
I had into the boat. And so I think that this guy probably thought, and the honest truth is if I had the money to fork up this exuberant, ridiculous price to him, I probably would have done it,
Mm.
because I was so scared of losing my boat and my home, that I would have done anything to just make it go away. So I think that, there's people who do this on a recurring basis and they get away with it because people have the money, they fork it up and they fold over. But I also think that I was an easy target. I wasn't skeptical enough. You got to have some optimism to be able to work with people, but you also got to be skeptical.
Yeah, it's upsetting that, isn't it? And it's like, the thing is, if like businesses like fuck over businesses, like let them do it, let them do lawyers, let them do court, let them do what these maybe the board do whatever. But like when it's to just a guy who's just worked up to buy his next house, effectively, you're living in your home, and you want to try and shaft that guy, like it's you know it's not good, mate.
Like I'm not. I don't wish bad on anyone apart from people like him.
Yeah, well, you know what? What goes around comes around. I really believe that. And it's all good because, fuck it. I'm in the Virgin Islands. I
Yeah, you
got
got
a
to look at the
smoking hot
positives.
girlfriend. I live on a yacht. Like my life is good. I'm blessed. Am I poor? Yeah, I fucking there's most days I have $0 in my bank account. But it's all good, like I've done it and I'm here. And my dad says education's expensive no matter how you get it. And it was an
Yeah, that's
expensive
true.
lesson for me to only do my own work on the boat. I learned a lot through the rebuild process, watching contractors do every aspect of this boat. And
Mhm.
I feel confident that no matter what happens to this boat, I can fix it myself going forward. And so
Yeah.
that was expensive, worth it.
Mate, the way to look at it, and this I only look at it from a positive perspective because I've got a boat. This is a 2004, so it's 20 years old, and I did like a full refit on it anyway. I changed a lot because it wasn't in good shape. It's like when something breaks or you need to replace it, and it's like something on your engine, a stupid heat exchanger on a big engine, $1,000, $1,500. I'm like, okay, but now I've got a new one, so I don't need to worry about that for 20 years. You can brush it off, and it's the same as investing in a home. Yeah,
You
but
do
yeah,
the roof and then your capital expenses go down. It's the
yeah,
same with me. Like now my rigging's done. I mean, every single big component is done. Pretty much everything that I could ever dream of upgrading on the boat is done. And
nice.
so, there's always going to be maintenance fees,
Yep.
and things are always going to break. But I shouldn't, knock on wood, have any massive expenses for a while. If I can keep this engine together, then I'll be all right.
I mean, how is the engine? Like, it is because I mean, it sounds like you've replaced a lot of stuff on it already anyway. But
Brother,
do
I
you are you
mean,
gradually doing a rebuild on it?
yeah, I mean, I am.
Yeah.
Like every time I can get my hands on $300 that I can spare, it goes into the engine. It's held together with Permatex gasket maker at the moment and zip ties. But she's doing well. We've had to use it a lot also because, we're going straight into the trade winds coming from Florida. We're now in the Virgin Islands.
Mm.
We have been going straight into the wind basically our entire experience. So we've done a lot of motoring. We've pushed it, and pretty much every time we turn it on, I find a new leak and address that one, and then another leak happens, and another one happens. Um, so I'm just kind of like keeping it together. It's
Yeah.
not a healthy engine. Like I don't even know if this guy actually sent it to a machine shop. I think that there's some issues, compression issues, and pressure issues
Right.
within. So, I mean, Andy, this is the funniest part of it all to me. You know, Part of the quote was to put a new gauge cluster in because when I got the boat, none of the gauges were working. So he put a
Okay.
brand new gauge cluster in, and it looks super fancy. It's got his logo on it and everything. Didn't ask him to do that, but he put his business logo on it,
Right.
embossed it on the gauge cluster. None of the gauges worked. None of them. I had to
None of them.
replace none of them, brother. I had to replace my fuel tank sender. I have one. I have two fuel tanks. My starboard one works. I don't have oil pressure. I don't have temperature. I don't have nothing, dude. I don't have tachometer. I got nothing.
That's crazy, man. That guy's a straight
Yeah,
up criminal.
yeah, no, it was. So it's just a joke, but it's again like I'm learning because I get to do it all myself. So
And that
it's all
there,
right.
yeah, there's the advantage, mate. Like, I have this conversation with quite a lot of people because again, I'm not a professional at all, but I've done enough to like be able to advise people who have like no clue what they're doing. And it's absolutely fundamental. Like, if you want to take the boat and leave a marina and go and live on anchor, you have to be able to fix stuff because like, all right, you're in the Bahamas and it's high season. Try getting a mechanic at last minute notice to come and meet you on a beach and come to your boat because you can't move it. You can't. It's not a case of do you have the money to do it. Sometimes you have to be able to fix these things yourself. It's
Yeah.
like now, my furling drum blew up. Just blew to bits. So I've had to get an IKEA chopboard and a saw and start making one. You have to be able to do it because I can get someone to come here. No chance. I'm like
100%.
50 miles away from a nautical professional at this point.
100%. Like, no, if somebody is, I'm coming from I'm a licensed home builder, electrician, plumber. I flipped and renovated Airbnbs and did that stuff beforehand. I worked on cars. I assisted diesel mechanics and things. So, I come from a handy background. But if somebody's not coming from that background, let's say they're an accountant and they're trying to go cruising, the biggest thing that you should do is you should go take an approved engine course. It's $1,000, $1,500 to take like a week-long hands-on engine course.
Yeah, it's nothing.
And then buy yourself a shit ton of tools.
Good tools.
And then just go, and then just go, and then just go and do it as you go. What I did with this full-scale, contractors involved rebuild, I don't think it's the best way to go. I think that had I just gone and fixed things as I went, I would have been a lot happier guy. So that's what I'd recommend people do.
Yeah, I'd say the same. I'd say get it seaworthy, get it so it's not going to sink, get it so it can sail somewhere, and then you just have to fix the other stuff because it'll pop up anyway. Like there's no, I did this. I had my boat in a yard for like 8 months. I just worked on it constantly. Put it in the water. A few months later, I've got a list like my arm long of all the stuff that then broke. And I was on a 2,000-mile journey home, so there was no way I was going to start pulling into marinas and getting stuff fixed. Like you have to be able to patch it up and move on. I think that's just clue yourself up a bit so you can do that. Or just have friends. Like that's another massive benefit of just being a member of the community rather than just being a random sailor going somewhere. Like make friends who are good at mechanics and electrical stuff, and then they can just tell you what to do.
I've been delighted with that. My girlfriend and I are both really social, and we meet people everywhere we go. We were just in Luperon, Dominican Republic, and there's a huge cruiser community there. Great.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of people helping us with electronics and different things on the boat. And so the community's been amazing. It's, people really want to help other cruisers.
Yeah.
And that's been a lifesaver for us.
Mate, it's just old school when it comes to like real cruises. Like, you'll see your neighbor in trouble, you'll go and offer some help, even if you're useless. I've said this to people. I'm like, go and offer help if you see someone who looks like they might have a problem. Just go and ask them if they're all right. And if you don't know what you're doing, it's fine. All somebody might need is a hand. Like literally, 100%. They might need a small person to help them get into a hole, and then you'll solve all their problems that day. So just go and offer your assistance, no matter like what your capabilities are.
100%. 100%. I actually, I'm testing out the Young Cruisers app. What's it called? Sea People. I'm testing it out right now. And one of my favorite things on there is you can kind of you can put on your profile willing to help, or like I'm handy, or I know how to do sewing, or whatever these things are. Yeah. And I'm always looking at like people in the area and what their little expertise is and how they can. That's my favorite part about the app. It's kind of like messaging people like, hey, could you come help me with this thing? Like, I'm sure you need something. We can trade labor, but.
Yeah, they should do that, man. They should implement like a payment system and do a little gig economy cruiser type of job setup through that. That would actually be quite cool.
Oh, that'd be good. I actually just cleaned our bottom the other day, and I love cleaning the bottom of our boat. I love scuba. I think scraping is actually it's not so bad for me. Like I actually enjoy the process, and I thought, man, if I could just clean everybody's bottom, then I'd be fine, and that'd be my retirement job, and I'd be stoked. But we'll see.
Man, $15 to fill a scuba tank, and couple of $100 for half a day's work. Why not?
I've got a compressor. I've got
a compressor as well.
Yeah,
I think I just broke my compressor. I didn't have it lashed in the skipper's cabin, and when I went into the skipper's cabin the other day after a horrible sail, it was on the floor and the oil's everywhere. So I think I might have just destroyed it.
Well, that's another handy experience for you. You get to learn to do some more work.
Exactly. Figure out how to do that. Yeah. They should do that. I'll talk to them. I asked them to put another thing in there. I was like, you need to put in there a little measurement of like how many wines or how many beers someone is generally up for. So if you pull into an anchorage, there is like the 10 beer guy. There's the guy who's going to be staying on the boat till the morning and vomiting. like you, it sounds.
Yeah,
There's
it's
the guy.
me.
There's the guy who
Yeah.
just wants a beer and then a tea, and he'll go to bed. Like they should put that on there as well.
Yeah. I'm one of those people who's all or I'm, like I don't, most days I don't drink. I actually take the captain role really seriously. We have a lot of guests on, and we're about to have some guests on. We're sitting by the airport waiting for them right now, and I stay sober so that everyone else can have a good time. And if something were to happen, we start dragging anchor, or God forbid there's a fire or something, I can handle it. But on the days where I feel safe going out with friends, I go all the way.
You have to, mate. You have to blow off the steam.
Yeah, man. Fuck. I've got a couple. My girlfriend's caught a couple pictures of me sprawled out in the cockpit floor for sure. But there's something to it. I think that I've started drinking more actually living on the boat, because there's so many moments like the pinnacle of sailing and cruising is like when you're in that protected bay and there's nothing to do, right? Yeah. But there's nothing to do but drink. so you're sitting around all day and the weather's great, and those few rare days where there's like you have no projects, you just want to sit there in the sun. You drink all day. You wake up and you're like, might as well start drinking. And so there's something. There's always this joke that the whole community, cruiser community, is alcoholics, and I see why. Like there's
All
a lot
doing
of
boat work.
Well, you're stressed and there's idle time on your hands.
Yeah. It is nice. It's a nice feeling when you can sit back at the end of the day and just go, oh, my boat's not breaking at the moment, and just enjoy a little Guinness as you do. I just did a few jobs, so I was like, it's in good shape. I'll have a drink at 6 o'clock. Why not? But I don't drink that much on the boat either, mate. Alcohol, the thing is, like, if you get drunk, you can't snap out of it. Like your mind is completely gone. Some people prefer smoking marijuana or mushrooms or whatever, where you have like a respectable level of like cognitive ability, even if you're having a great time. Whereas alcohol, like even on a hangover, I am useless. Like my awareness is so reduced if I'm hungover. So I don't like it that much. Not for being on the boat anyway. If the weather's really easy, like it's like you said, if you're in a protected anchorage and it's like 5 knots for the next 4 days, then yeah, chill out. But otherwise, I don't want to be waking up hungover or drunk because my anchor's dragging. Like no way.
No. I've learned the hard way when we started, because when we first started, our renovation was such hell that we just started partying. We started partying. But my new rules, my like non-negotiables are, I don't care what we're doing the day before a passage. If we have a long passage, no one's drinking the day before. No one drinks 100%. On passage whatsoever. Yeah. Because I've also gotten in trouble with going on like a 200-mile passage and people are hungover and they're just miserable. And it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
No. Man, you need high spirits on passage. Like you need like euphoric moments. You don't need moments where people are like, can't eat even though they feel like shit and they're hungry. Like, no, it's the worst, mate.
100%.
Yeah, I've got a buddy coming over to visit this weekend. We're in Menorca, as I said, and I haven't seen this guy in like 12 years. Awesome guy. He's from a family of ports manufacturers. There's a brand called Dow Ports in the everywhere actually. It's his like family's business. He's a super interesting guy. He's been all over the world doing this type of stuff. And he moved to Menorca like 15 years ago. He was like, oh, come at the weekend. And I was like, yeah, come on Friday. I'll drink on Friday, but I'm not drinking on Saturday because we might be sailing on Sunday.
There you go.
Basic.
Perfect. Balance, baby. Yeah. That's what we like.
Yeah.
Speaking of drinks, I need a top up. Can we take a 1 minute break?
Can indeed, mate. Go for it.
That's cool. You beautiful.
Turned it back on. I'm now on my British hydration. I'm on my litre of tea for the day.
Your litre of tea for the day.
Yeah, I drink a shitload of tea. When it's cooler, it's not that hot in the Med yet. Yeah, we've just got some strange weather at the moment. It's actually not very nice. So yeah, I'm still on the tea. I'll be on the water probably in a few weeks, hopefully, when it heats up.
I gotcha. You got to get on the iced tea, the sweet tea, brother.
I know, mate. I really enjoy it. But it's the type of thing that I probably want to start making myself, because the ones that you get in the shops are just filled with, like, it's not tea. You know what I mean? Like,
it's sugar.
Yeah, they might dip a tea bag in there to say it's tea, but that's basically it. Like it's not actually tea. Whereas, like, if you brew it and then you put the fruits in and stuff, they taste amazing.
Yeah.
A southern delicacy, I suppose, as you'd say in America.
Southern delicacy. Yeah. My mom's side of my family is English. And so I dabble in both teas. But yeah, we haven't had hot tea, or we don't have hot coffees or anything for a while. It's been so unbearably hot in the Caribbean. We don't have air conditioning yet.
Right.
Like right now, I've got all the hatches closed just because we're close to the airport. I don't want the noise to disturb us.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I close
dude,
all mine because my halliards are flapping around.
we go through a lot of ice. My ice maker is probably my favorite thing on the boat, honestly.
Mate, it's so, it changed our life getting an ice maker on the boat. Like, first, I put it in straight away because it was hot. We were in Greece when I got the boat and I got it in the water. But like our previous cruising boat, we were cruising around the summer in the Balearics, getting to like 120, I suppose, by like American measurements. And we were just dying. And like having a glass of water is fine, it hydrates you. But having a glass of water that's literally like 50% ice, that cools your body down. Like, makes a massive difference.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's like it's when your first boat, I feel like you probably learn so much because I've learned so much. And
Yeah.
I honestly can say that one of the first things I should have spent money on was air conditioning.
Yeah.
For me, I know it's an American thing. Like Americans love their air conditioning apparently, but it's freaking hot out here, man, and it gets real hot in the boat. And if it rains and we have to close the hatches, like our guests are miserable.
Oh,
We
yeah,
can.
yeah. That's tough.
It's miserable for them, and we want to charter the boat, and that's like the one thing I feel like we have to do to
Yeah.
really feel ready for charter is get the aircon. So it should have been one of the first things I did.
Yeah, man, because obviously I do the festival now, so I like hire a lot of charter boats all over the world.
Yeah.
And the ones in the Mediterranean, like vast majority of them don't have air conditioning. They've got water makers, although it's not really necessary in some countries because you pull into port for like €20 and that's like your fees for the night. In like Greece, for example, like you want to go into the port in Greece, €20, and then you can fill up your water. Like, it's not like the
Wow.
South Florida at all. Spain's expensive, like, because like you've worked in this part of the world and stuff. So like Spain's expensive. But yeah, no,
Well, I don't
Greece.
know because I didn't pay for any of it. I just show
Well,
up
yeah,
and
maybe.
I just clean
You just
bird
do the
shit for
work.
a living. Yeah, I don't. I
Yeah,
sometimes I put the card up, but I can't. Couldn't tell you what the price was. Yeah.
yeah. I don't think Glen's paying those prices actually to park up Parsifal somewhere. So yeah, it's probably different when you're
No,
on a
it's a
50 footer.
it's above my
Yeah.
pay grade.
Yeah, but mate, you've got balls. Like, honestly, getting into the game of like your first cruising boat, big refit, to go for like a 50 footer the first time, like that's heavy. Like, I spent years working on smaller shitty boats that I owned for ages to
Well,
like train myself up and stuff. Like, you really went in it deep.
I don't know that I have balls as much as I am just stupid and naive.
Well, you're
Uh,
out there sailing, mate, and like you have to look at the end price. Like, is what you paid in total for the boat, is it giving you the life that you want? And
A hundred
is it?
percent, 100%. It's worth it.
Yeah,
The
that's
reason
it.
I ended up with such a big boat, is there's a couple of reasons. One, I'm a pretty tall guy. I'm 6'3".
Yeah, yeah, you're big.
Uh, couldn't tell you what it is in the metric system, but this is
In
the
England, we do the foot. We're still by the foot for some
oh,
stuff.
do you really? Do you
Yeah, yeah,
really?
we're still on feet. Yeah, some of the teenagers and the younger people now we're talking in meters, but we're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Forget it.
If you're above 6 foot, it puts you on a big boat. Like it just does for
Yeah, it
quality
does.
of
Yeah,
life,
yeah.
and so
Especially older boats, because not a lot of them are very short.
100%,
Yeah,
100%. And so in my price range, trying to find something where I didn't have to bend over to walk around it and I wasn't going to hit my head all day.
yeah,
I
good
mean,
point.
I toured so many boats. This was the first one I walked on where I was like, fuck, I don't have to duck walking around the boat.
Yeah,
And then on top of that, it's like, okay, I want the capability to charter it, to offset and make some money if I need to.
yeah,
And I want to be able to have my family on board. I want to be able to have friends on board and share it.
yeah.
And yeah, I ended up with a big boat.
Yeah, mate, like when we started thinking about what are we going to do next in terms of like proper liveaboard cruising, we had a different idea because this was pre-COVID before the world started getting stupid. So we were like, oh, we'll wait and save, and then we were like, no, we're not waiting, we're leaving ASAP. But our boat it's actually the one that Glen's got, I think it's the 42 DS. It's a 40-foot boat, but it's got loads of headroom, so it's nice, and like all the
Oh,
cabins have got
wow.
headroom in them. for a 42-foot boat. They designed it really well. So we were looking at that, and then we were like, hang on, now we've got a kid, we've got animals, we want friends to come. Like, this is a small space for like 6 people if we want. And yeah, it does get you into that 50-foot range.
100%. The other thing is, like, for me, I wanted something I can grow into as well. Like,
yeah.
Obviously everyone's dream, or at least my dream, is, a big fancy catamaran with all the air conditioning and bells and whistles. But that's money wise, that's a long ways away from me. And so
yeah.
this is a boat that I could live on and sail on for the next 7 years, 8 years.
Easily.
Get all the way around the world with it. And so no matter what comes, if a family grows, or, if we bring on crew or friends, or we want to charter, I can do it on this boat and I don't have to change. So I wanted to do it right the first time. And I don't regret it. I love this boat. It's a great boat, brother. Like, I've got a really strong hull, people talk crap about production boats, but I think a lot of the production boats that were built in like the 90s are different than what they are now. I've got a heavy boat. I've got a thick boat. I've got a lot of length at the waterline, and I'm stoked. And the other great thing about these old charter boats, if you can fix some of the damage that they've undergone through the charter programs, they're really designed to be easy to jump on and sail for people who don't have a lot of experience, which is perfect for me. I had no experience buying this boat. It's a really simple boat. I love it. It's great.
Oh, mate, they're fantastic. And the thing is, it's like you've got one of those Benetos that was like a super well-built Beneto, where they were like, we're making this for the owner, but it can charter as well, but it needs to go offshore. Whereas now they're for bays, they're for leave the marina for 5 days and go back. It's such a massive difference, mate. Like, this is a 2004, but it's like the last Beneto and the same, they're owned by the same conglomerate anyway, but they've always competed with each other regardless. They've always made similar quality boats. They still do. But yeah, like, we were in a marina like 2 days ago, and a Jeanneau 64 pulled up at the side of us, and like, this is a stunning boat to look at. Like, you're like, because Jeanneau, like, the French they're great at making boats. They make stunning boats, always led when it comes to like aesthetic. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, that mast is smaller than mine. And that boat's 10 foot bigger. That rigging is thinner than mine. Those winches are smaller than mine, but they've got like 30 more square meters of sail. Like, you can see where they're skimping. Unfortunately, it's on like the structure of the boat rather than, like the fabric on the sofas, as you'd hope.
100%, 100%. I mean, this is the beautiful thing about buying a really old boat for me, like where my budget was, is I knew that I wanted to customize and I wanted to outfit it for full-time cruising. I wanted a big solar system, big lithium, water maker, all those things. And getting an older boat, I bought this boat for 80 grand.
No way, really?
Yeah.
Holy shit. But it's like 75,000 pounds.
That's nice. I didn't get a great deal, but I was happy with the deal. I've heard people get much better deals than me, but the boat needed a lot. But for me, I was looking for like it's probably a blessing and a curse. I was coming from like buying the shittiest houses you could find in the worst neighborhoods and fixing them up, to try to make money. And so I wanted a clean slate that I could customize. And this boat is it's genuinely like what I wanted and what we wanted. I've got all the systems in that I wanted. Everything's been replaced. She's beautiful. I'm really happy.
You've done well, mate. Yeah, you made like a lot of really good decisions on that. It's like so. We'll throw it back a bit. We met in Annapolis at the boat show, which was great. It was great meeting you, mate. It was really good meeting you. And but I watched all your stuff on Instagram, because I like Instagram. I think it's great. Like, you can just connect with people really quick and you can make loads of friends on it. I really like it. And I started watching your stuff, and good job as well on that, because those reels that you made, they're great, mate. Like day 62 in the boatyard day. I was watching, I was like, oh, what's he doing today? Like, it was brilliant, man. But you made some really good decisions when it came to refitting that boat, mate. It seemed like you you didn't really waste money. I mean, I know you got ripped off in this one particular case, but you were spending money on stuff. And I was looking at it, I was like, yeah, good. Like, that is a good way to spend cash if you're going to spend cash on a cruising boat.
Look, I mean, first off, I really appreciate all the kind words, and it was a pleasure meeting you too, brother. You got a great energy about you, and
Oh,
you
cheers,
know,
mate.
everyone in Annapolis, I had a great time. If people haven't been to the Annapolis Boat Show, being in yachting, I've been to Monaco and every boat show you can think of, and Annapolis has got a vibe about it. It's
It's a
super
good vibe.
approachable. It's like for mom and pops who just want to like retire and live the dream. It's very approachable in a way,
Yeah.
as much as a yachting show could be.
Yeah.
And great time.
Well, it
But
feels
anyways,
more like a hangout than a yachting show. It
it was
depends.
awesome,
It
dude.
depends on
It's
the crowd
great.
you're hanging with, but obviously it's a good vibe.
I've been places where, to boat shows where I didn't feel comfortable walking around. It's
Yeah.
pretentious, it's for show. But Annapolis is different. It's a really good vibe. But mate, Instagram changed my fucking life. Like,
No
you
way.
know, yeah, there was a serendipitous moment of like, I've always liked making videos. I've been solo traveling and doing, YouTube videos just for a passion for years and years, backpacking and stuff.
Nice.
Um, and I ended up on Below Deck, which kind of accelerated my ideas of when I was going to go cruising. I thought I was going to wait another 3 years and do some more real estate first. And I thought, okay, maybe I could do the social media thing to kind of offset the cruising cost. Now that I've been on Below Deck, which fell into my lap and was a huge blessing, Below Deck was. And then when I got on Instagram, I posted that first video. It was like day one renovating my sailboat. It got like 6 million views or something.
They're good
So
videos,
it's
mate. Very
well, I
interesting to
mean,
watch.
I appreciate that. I mean, I think they're decent, but they're also like they're super basic, and it was just a really lucky, like serendipitous moment. And dude, it just changed my life. Like it not only did it snowball the renovation into something that it would have never been if no one was watching. I mean, brands got involved, it gave me a cash
Yeah, it's great for that.
infusion, to help do more with the boat than I would have ever imagined. But it's also it let me meet so many people. Like we'll
It's
literally
great, mate.
now that we're big on Instagram, like we'll pull into a bay and somebody will come rock up on their dinghy, like, oh, we recognize the boat, we recognize you, and we make friends everywhere we go. It's
Yeah.
really like it's paired well with the cruising lifestyle where we really like it's enabled us to meet people all around,
Yeah.
and we don't feel lonely at all. Like we constantly feel plugged in. I love social media. It's been great for us.
Yeah, I think it's super positive from that perspective. Like it just gives you the opportunity. Like, mate, we've met so many people through it. Like, or same like you come into an anchorage and somebody sends you a message and you're like, oh, do you want to have a drink? And we're like, oh yeah, cool. Like it's
Yeah.
fantastic. It's really good for making friends and making money as well. Like I've met quite a lot of people now who only do Instagram. They don't run a business or they don't have a job or they don't do YouTube. A lot of people do YouTube to earn money. They just do Instagram and they make a killing. Like they make
Yeah.
heavy cash out of it. I think it depends on like what type of brand deals you do. I've never looked at it like that, but no, I've got friends who like they get approached by companies and they get offered big money.
Look, I mean, I think it's one of those things. It is a real job, once you're in it, like you realize it takes a lot of time and a lot of dedication, a lot of hours before you can make any money. Like we're not making, big money. We're making enough money to where like
Yeah,
sometimes
you can
sometimes
live.
I have yeah, like I might have to sit and wait for 4 days for some money to come through before I can buy some diesel, but we're surviving and we're cruising off of it.
Yeah,
And if the job is just videoing our lives and like recording these moments of traveling around the world, that's the best job I could possibly imagine. And
yeah,
like
it's
like
wicked,
I,
mate.
I was telling you, we just hung out with Raf and Sasha from Spirit Animal, who are people
Great
like
people.
kindred spirits to me, Southern folks, and like we have a lot of the same interests. Great couple. We got along with them great. That would have never happened if it weren't for Instagram.
Yeah,
So, and that's a real life connection and friendships, and so it's just been awesome for us.
yeah, it's incredible, mate. And like you meet so many just like truly like interesting and nice people who are involved in this type of life and
Yes.
just good people, like willing to help out and stuff. And you know what? Like, I wonder if like the world is actually still like this in general. It's not just people like us doing what we do, but it's like everyone's just dealing with like a lot of bullshit at the moment. Whether it's like, you know, America's got problems, UK's got problems, bit different on occasion, but you know, every country's got issues, every country's dealing with some shit, and I think people get bogged down with it. So don't know. It would be so nice if everybody just had some basic comforts in place, you know, so everybody could just like be their best version every day and like be so cool with everyone. That would be really sweet. I think that's utopia, isn't it? Really.
I wish. I mean, there's,
Yeah.
for every crazy kind of weird person that we encounter online, there's, 15, 20 amazing people who are just like,
Oh, mate. Yeah.
want to hang out and help a hand and, want to support, our dreams, and, they're living a similar dream, and we can kind of help each other. It's been really, really good. It's, I think a lot of people miss the point of social media is to be social and to actually make friends and meet people and message and learn things.
Yeah.
A lot of people post a highlight reel of their lives, and they like, want to stunt and look cool. And then other people look at it and feel bad about their own lives. And there's some bad things that come from social media. But if you're looking at it as a platform to meet people and build a community, it can be really healthy.
Oh, yeah.
We've had a good experience. I've been blessed with it for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So, mate, so you were on the below deck. You were with Glen on Parsifal. Yeah.
I was on Below Deck Sailing Yacht season 4.
Nice.
At the time when it happened, I wasn't looking for it. Some people apply, but it a lot of times it just lands in people's laps too. So I was back home.
They messaged me like 3 years ago asking if
Did
I
they?
wanted to go. Yeah.
Dude, a lot of the people in the yacht industry that I know have been messaged by them. I think that they're just constantly looking, but I think that I'm one of the few people who was stupid enough to say yes, or I guess didn't care about their reputation enough to say yes.
Yeah.
But I don't
weighed
regret
up
it.
the
It was
risks,
great.
and I was just like, no, my mouth, no good.
Exactly.
I can't do
A
that.
lot of people are that way, but I have no shame, and so I'm perfect for it, I guess. But honestly, at the time, like it was another one of those serendipitous blessings. Like I was back home wanting to go sailing. I've been such a big fan of the sailing community on YouTube. I've been like dreaming of traveling full time. I love to travel. And so I knew I wanted this lifestyle, and I was building up like real estate. I was in the grind, like driving Uber from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m., doing construction from 8 to 5, selling beer door to door, just like 4 or 5 jobs for years. I didn't do anything fun. And I gotten to the point where I was just miserable and wanted to leave. And I'm a big Christian guy. I was praying. I was like, I just need something to like switch it up. And I got an Instagram DM. Before I was big on Instagram, I guess I had some photos of the yachts that I had worked on. And they said, "You want to do the show?" And I was like, "I'd love to do the show." 3 weeks later, I was in Sardinia walking on Parsifal, and was a fan of the
It's a
show
nice boat, mate.
beforehand. Dude, it was, well, it is a nice boat. Parsifal's an amazing boat. But I don't know if you remember my first season, we had a lot of issues. The engine got hydro locked,
Oh, yeah,
water.
you told me about that. Yeah. They had to wash it out, which is a bit risky sometimes.
It was, well, credit goes to Colin
Or flush it,
McRae
not
for
wash it.
saving the season. Yeah, I mean, he literally he pulled off a miracle saving that engine and getting us to get off the dock. But the boat was in really rough shape when I showed up. I mean, we had hydraulic leaks and engine problem, everything you could think of. There's stuff breaking every day. And we're all, we're a crew that comes on for 6 weeks to film on the boat. None of us know the boat.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. I don't know where anything is when I first show up, and on a 54-meter boat, it's hard to figure it all out. So
Yeah.
it was, but they've since done a complete rebuild, and Parsifal's in great shape now, I think. But
Yeah,
they
I think
changed a lot.
it was in here. It was in the Med having a lot of work done to it last year, I think, because we
Yeah.
met up with Glen in Denia in Spain, which is an area where a lot of super yachts are left because it's a super cheap marina, it's close to an airport, all that type of stuff. And it was having quite a bit of work done on it, Glen, and Glen was just like overseeing the contractors. It's a stunning boat, mate. It's so nice. It's like if I because most super yachts, you look at them, you're like, that's disgusting. It shouldn't be on the water, really. It could be a spaceship. Get it out there. But like that, it's like it just looks like a classic vessel. Like it's so pretty.
It's stunning. I mean, we saw a lot of the sister boats to Parsifal. The Perini Navies are
Yeah, there's loads of them actually. Yeah, they look the
beautiful,
same.
beautiful. I think it's a great build, and they're just really, really nice. It's a good way. It's tough to, I think, make a modern looking yacht that also has some classic lines, and
Yeah, very tough.
it's stunning. She's a work of art, and sailing it is really cool. I mean, we don't sail that boat. It's all done with buttons and triggers,
Yeah, yeah,
and the experience of it is just amazing. Where you can sit in a chair and just flip a bunch of toggles, and all of a
yeah.
sudden, big beast is just sailing beautifully. It's really, really nice. Different
Yeah,
world.
it's great. I mean, you'd have to be honest, because like the size of the lines on that thing and the
No, I mean,
sails, like you'd have no chance.
obviously, but it's a beautiful luxury, that I wish I had on my own boat where I could
Oh,
just
mate, it would be
sit in
nice.
my chair and it just make it all run like a video game.
Yeah,
But
when you
how
saw
good
them
is Glen,
sailing.
by the way?
Oh, mate, he is such a lovely guy. So we were doing this. So Marcos, the chef who works with Glen, he's going to be he's going to be Glen's chef at the next Odyssey Festival in Greece. So we were doing like a little promotional recording thing last night for an Instagram reel to promote that like Marcos is joining the festival and all that. And he's such a good, like, fun guy. He's so nice. Like, he's got no issues financially. He can do whatever he wants. He's a super yacht captain. He's a television star. But like, if you message him and you're like, "Oh mate, I've got this good idea," he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, cool, cool. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Let's try it." Like, so
no,
happy to get involved with stuff. He's great.
he's good. He's good people. I liken him to Santa Claus because he's this just jolly, like perpetually approachable guy. And it's funny because if anyone is meant to have a big head or have an ego, it's him. Like
Oh yeah,
he's an actual TV star. He's a star of the show. He's running this big boat. He's making good money. He's worked his way to the top of the industry. He's got his own boat. He's got a dream life. He's got a badass sports car. But he's
yeah,
just super nice, young at heart, very fun, very approachable, easy to talk to about anything.
yeah.
And yeah, I cannot say a bad word about Glen at all. Or Marcos, actually. I met Marcos, great guy too. I met him in
Yeah, he
LA at
seems
his
really nice.
restaurant. He's
Ah, no way.
fucking
Yeah.
talented, that guy too.
Oh
Oh my
mate, yeah,
God.
he's super talented. Like I've not met him yet. We've spoke a bunch of times and we've like video chatting and stuff. He seems like a really cool guy. My missus watches Below Deck, so she actually watches the episodes. I just watch the stuff that like Glen puts on Instagram, because he puts like the clips and all that, which is actually
Yeah.
really cool. But yeah, I remember my wife saying a while back, she was just like, if I die, I want to make sure I've eaten this guy's food before that happens. I was like, oh right, and then yeah, it was a few weeks ago. I was like, "Oh, you're going to get to eat that guy's food every day for a week." Actually, now
There
she was
you
very
go.
excited about it. Yeah, it was
There you
cool.
go. You got some brownie points. You'll get on with him really well. He's an awesome guy.
Yeah, he
Another
seems it.
super humble guy who doesn't have to be because he's got all the qualities and reasons to be kind of full of himself, but super humble and fun. Lots of
Yeah,
fun. Party
yeah,
animal a
yeah,
little bit. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, he's a super cool dude, man. But the thing is with Glenn, like he's a cruiser, and that's it. Like he's a cruiser. Period. Like whenever we talk, because we message a lot on WhatsApp because we have the same boat, so we've got like similar problems and issues, and he wants to do upgrades and stuff, and all he wants to talk about is batteries and through hulls and sail trim, and like, that's all he cares
Yeah.
about. Really, he just wants to go sailing. It's cool.
100%.
Yeah,
100% simple and just friendly.
yeah,
I've we didn't talk at all after I filmed our my season with Glenn, and then as soon as I got in the boat, all of a sudden we were in all these conversations about winches and engines and whatnot. So it's been
mm.
really good. That's all he wants to do. It's great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He loves it, mate. Mate, so what's the plan for you then? Like, whereabouts are you now? You're in the BVI. You just
Yeah.
said. Have you got a plan for the hurricane season, the summer? Like, what are you thinking?
Well, it looks I mean, my renovation went over about 4 or 5 months of what it should have.
Yeah,
So I had a late start. I'm trying to get to Granada. My big thing is I just don't want to turn around and go back to the States. I want to keep going.
yeah,
And I know a lot of people. I had briefly considered getting to Granada for the season and then coming back up and doing the Caribbean because we're doing such a rushed job of it.
Hmm.
but I'm going west. I'm going through Panama. I want to do Central
Oh, cool.
America, West Coast. I want to do the Pacific. So we're trying to get all the way around. For me, it's all about traveling and just like knocking off the bucket list and doing it while I can and while
Yep.
I've got the able body to do it. So I don't have a timeline, but
Mm.
that's where we're at. I live in a little bit of anxiety right now because we are in the VIs and hurricane season is happening right now. But a lot of people have said once you get to the VIs, like I could get to Granada in 2 days if I needed to. I could get there pretty quickly. So
Yeah.
um, at this point, like we're just watching the weather. We're moving south. I'm gonna have to skip a few islands. I'm gonna have to skip some stuff and miss a few things to get south. But we're trying to get down there. We're gonna hold out the season. I got to do some training. I'm trying to go for my yacht master offshore. So
Oh, nice. Very cool.
dude, I'm
Where are you doing
intimidated.
that?
In Granada,
Oh, they do it in
it's
Granada. Right. Okay. Yeah.
Granada Blue Water Sailing, I think it is. But I'm intimidated. It's a license that I want for work, for delivery work, yacht work, chartering my own boat. But it's also something I want just to feel competent, running my boat for myself. And
Yeah.
you have to be able to sail on and off of a mooring ball, sail on and off of a dock, no engine, it's a big theory test. So I think if I can do it, then I'll finally feel like ready to call myself a sailor. I'll feel ready for pretty much any situation we can get into. But
Nice.
the training intimidates me, I must be honest.
The physical part of it's pretty simple, mate. Like it because there's a crew of people. You're not just stuck on a boat and thrown into it. Like you'll go for a week refresher, and they teach you the drills that you have to be able to perform and the maneuvers and stuff like that. And then you'll have an assessor jump on board. So it's like fresh in your mind. The theory just pisses me off when it comes to the OIA because like they're still trying to teach it. They don't even make paper charts anymore. Like the companies that commission them from the UK, it's the OIA, they don't even do that anymore. And it's like you're having to navigate through paper, with old instruments from like the 1700s. And it's like, listen, guys, if you go for a driving test now, they don't say, okay, we need to get to the other side of the city. There's the guidebook from the 1960s. Figure it out. Like
Exactly.
you've got multiple chart plotters, you've got multiple phones, iPads, Starlink, like everything. So it's like I think they need to update it a bit.
I definitely think that they need to update it, but it's also like
And the
I
instructors
think,
will tell you that too.
well, yeah, but there's so many things in life. You just need to be able to pass the test, and then
Yeah.
you retain the things that you actually need. But for me, it's like I think that the yacht master and the RYA has this weight of you actually know what you're
It's
doing.
credibility.
A lot of people have told me to go the U.S. Coast Guard route and get my 100 ton or my 200 ton or whatever. But you could do it all online. Like you don't even have to drive a boat to pass it, and so it doesn't really hold much weight. I want to
Yeah.
go for the license that proves that I've worth my salt,
Yeah.
and actually challenges me, so I can actually learn something. And I'll take whatever it comes with. If it means I got to learn some charting that I might not ever use, then that's fine. And here
It's good to know, like, and it's good to understand that you know how to read a chart, you know how to navigate through it. If you only got a compass, it's useful to know. But yeah, I suppose using an old school map is, which a
uh,
lot of people can't do anymore. I doubt many regular people know what a compass is anymore, actually.
yeah, yeah, I've had to actually go through a lot of it. Just for like rudimentary deckhand training. Like you do quite a lot of it. Like I've done my yacht rating course, and there's dabbling in paper charts and trying to navigate in that fashion.
Mm.
But uh, I've got a lot to learn. I don't know if I'll ever use it, but it is quite interesting too. I think that I'm really looking forward to my celestial navigation courses.
Yeah,
Will I ever use them? No, like I hope not,
no,
unless I've been struck by lightning and I'm absolutely tits up screwed. But it is fun. It's really, it's
yeah.
eye-opening to do it.
I think that's like a little bit different because it's like you're learning a part of history and seamanship and how they did it back in the day, like really. Whereas so for me, the idea of like you have to look at a map, but you get your reading from, a GPS is like quite strange. I'm like, well, the GPS is connected to a screen. The screen just tells you where you are. But yeah, when it comes to celestial navigation, like I've got massive amounts of respect for that. Not necessarily anyone's ability to do it, just the system of how they actually put that in place and figured it all out. Like, how did they write a book that pretty much tells you everywhere you are on Earth related to the time of year and the position of the sun? Like
It's
the
crazy.
hours that, yeah, it's nuts, mate. And that's like how they, sailed around Earth. Like with that,
It's
like
wild.
it's so impressive.
It actually gives me some perspective to, not complain so much when we're on passage and whatnot,
Oh, we've got it
because
easy.
we've got so many comforts, man. I was just
Yeah.
they have like this, it's kind of a shop mixed with a museum
Mm.
in St. Thomas. And they've got all this stuff that's salvaged from old wrecks here in the Virgin Islands. And they've got the old eyeglasses and the sextants and all these crazy things, that people used hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And to just look at it and how rudimentary and simple and beat up it all is wild that people did what they did.
Oh, they were
It's
brave.
crazy to me to think, because I'm petrified all the time and I have all the instruments that you can imagine. So
Yeah. Oh, mate, yeah, it's just amazing. Like the craziest thing to think about as well is like, you're doing like trade wind sailing at the moment. Think of how many thousands of people had to die in order to figure out trade wind sailing. Like there was kings that just used to be like in Portugal that just used to be like, right, okay, go across the Atlantic, see what's there. It's June. And then they all die. And then they only found out that they all die, after they've probably sent the next bunch of crew, and then they all die. And then eventually the message comes back like, yeah, we met them afterwards. They didn't die. So it's just crazy
it's
to think that that's how it was figured out.
no, it's wild. I actually, it's funny. So Chat GPT, the AI app. I've been
Yeah,
using it a lot, and everywhere we go, I'm just like, I'll be like, all right, tell me, like, so we're about to go to the baths in BVI's. I'm like, tell me about the history in the baths, like, tell me everything I
that's
need
cool.
to know. And it's great. It's a great tool. But just going through the Caribbean and learning about a lot of the history and like,
Oh, it's insane, mate.
it is wild, brother. It
Yeah.
is it is wild, wild, wild. And I think that we all probably have some kind of like longing in our hearts for that like adventurous, like lost feeling. But
Mm.
fuck me, I'm glad I don't have to go through
Oh man, the
it.
hardships. No, like I watch Pirates of the Caribbean and I'm like, Keira Knightley is pretty interesting to look at. I'm like, I would love it, but then I'm like, you'd get rabies, you'd get AIDS, you'd get everything, you'd be dead. Like they just died so easy, like just through fungus infections and basic shit. Like it was a horrible life. It really was.
Miserable, dude.
Yeah,
Miserable.
but no,
Miserable.
I think it's in like the Caribbean does like have a like I don't know something special for British people just because of like the history of the Caribbean and it's not the bad side but the nice part of it. It's a beautiful place and we've been going there for like hundreds of years. But yeah, they went through some shit to figure all that stuff out.
I'm loving it here, man. I love that, like, we're finally in this place where we can island hop. We've had so many 3-4 day passages,
Mm,
like right off of our start, that it's really nice to have some day trips.
yeah,
And it's nice that every island we go to is completely different vibe as far as the geography and the culture. We've got Dutch islands, we got French islands, we got British islands, we got
it's
American
really cool.
islands. We've got the Taco Bell and the McDonald's. The
Mm,
Dominican Republic it's beautiful, and we get this change constantly, and I'm loving it. It's my first time really going through and staying in places for a while and soaking
yeah,
it up. Whereas on the yacht, like I never stepped off the yacht. I just see the docks.
yeah,
But
it's work mode.
but this is great, man. I love it here.
Man, there's no better way to like see the world and like learn about new cultures and how different people like interact and how they've developed their own version of history. Like it's so interesting. It just opens your perspective so much on like meeting different types of people, like people you wouldn't typically meet if you lived on land in a town somewhere. But yeah, it's great. And you meet cruisers who've like circumnavigated and they've seen it for like 15 years. They're so interesting to talk to. Like the stuff that they'll tell you about like remote islands and even sailing around Scotland, just crazy shit. Like it's so interesting. They've got so many stories.
100%. And it's different perspectives, right? Like it's like the more perspective you have in life, the happier you are, and the more calm and easygoing you are. And so you meet these people who have seen all walks of life and can relate to that different people, and they're the best people to meet.
Yeah.
So I think that this process of going all the way around and exposing ourselves to these new things, I'm going to leave it a better man, and I'm looking forward to that. I think it's it's a life-changing thing that you can do is go travel and buy a boat and do it. It's fucking hard and it's challenging, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of growth from that, but just meeting the different people and exposing yourself to the ideas is it's changing in a really good way.
Oh, 100%, mate. And I think if you immerse yourself with those types of people and you listen to them a lot, like, you have to listen. But I think if you do listen to them and you take into consideration how they've lived their lives and they've seen this and they've experienced this, like, you'll just come out of it a much, much better adult, like better at making decisions, more compassionate and empathetic, probably. Yeah, nothing to lose apart from all your money.
Apart from all your money. But look here, I mean, money's important for choice so that you can handle the problems that come
That's
face
true.
your way. Health, all these things, they cost money to fix, but it's so unimportant in many ways. I think that the more money you have, the more it limits you in life in some ways. I've taken care of people who are, multi-billionaires who are just completely unhappy with life.
Oh yeah.
I've seen the tantrums from these folks, and it doesn't solve everything. I think that there's some simplicity. And then on the flip side, I've met people who live on the street in the Dominican Republic who are stoked on life. So it's all about perspective.
Yeah, definitely perspective. It's like I think it gives you the ability to be more comfortable if you make the right choices. And if you are generally comfortable, like, mate, if you've got money and you can just pay for stuff to disappear that pisses you off, like, that's nice. Like, that is nice. But it doesn't change your perspective for the better. It just gives you the ability to, like, maybe chill out and learn a bit more and develop, like, your personal skills. But yeah, like, becoming a better person, that's through experience that you don't need money to obtain. It does make getting there a bit easier. So yeah, you have to work and you have to save. Then you have to work and you have to save more to maintain the boat. But
it's
nothing
the
bad can come from it.
double-edged sword, man. The country song, it's like money can't buy everything, but it can buy you a boat.
Yeah. And then you got an extra problem.
Yeah, and then you need lots and lots of money because you bought the boat. But
yeah, that's true.
It's become very valid in my life.
Yeah. Well, mate, let's wrap it up there because we've gone full circle. We've done a bit of the refit. We've done a bit of your future plans and all that type of stuff. And are you going to go to the Annapolis Boat Show this year again?
I sure hope so. I just got to figure out flights, and if I'm working on my yacht master training, then I might not. But I know that there's a lot of really cool people going this year, and I sure hope that I make it and I can come back, man. I'd love to hang out with you, have a couple more beers.
Yeah, that would be great, mate.